So money is business, as you always say, and business means money. Stability and business mean a lot of money. There is a lot to talk about, well, since some time, and actually more very heated subjects in the market, and with the developments taking place in our scene, and of course linked to the international developments. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got with us our guest, the CEO of an investment banking company. Welcome, sir, with us. And we've got with us also Dr. Ala Shazdi, professor of economy. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
And we'll go for a short break, after which we'll be coming back, starting our own discussion. Stay tuned to us, don't go away.
Egypt has uniquely undergone 2 revolutions in less than 3 years for better living and the rule of democracy. Egypt remains, after all, as an attractive investment destination despite the difficulties it faced. Ahead of the 2011 revolution, the Egyptian economy was performing well, as confirmed by all KPIs.
We feel very confident about the Egyptian market. The main factors or the main pillars of the Egyptian economy are still here, and they're not going anywhere.
Egypt is a good place to invest, first of all, because it's a big market. It's a big local market. It's a good geographical location. You have good people, and the costs are competitive. So it's a great place. It was, it is, and it will be a great place to invest.
We've got with us our guest, Dr. Ala Shazdi, professor of economics at Cairo University. Welcome, sir, again.
Welcome.
With us, and we've got Dr. Mohammed Maher, CEO of Prime Investment Banking Corporation. Welcome, sir, with us. Well, there is a lot to talk about, actually. You know, you're just the experts. A lot has been happening in Egypt since we hit rock bottom, economically speaking, socially speaking, all the differences and developments that have been taking place, and disgruntlement of some people, of some segments, and happiness with others, and projects that are being built, and a lot has been happening. So what would you like to start talking about? We've got the big menu actually here, and the IMF loan, we've got the dollar rising, we've got the projects and investments, all that. As an expert, what would you like to start with?
I would like to start with talking generally about our situation now. We are moving through a very important period in the Egyptian history. After 2 revolutions, a lot of demanding coming from the population of Egypt, which exceeding 90 million inhabitants at the moment. very ambitious plan coming from the president and the government, with a lot of expansion in infrastructure projects, electricity, almost doubling capacity within the coming 5 years, roads, land reclamation for adding 1.5 million feddans, almost 20% increase of the planted area in Egypt. Talking about mining and exploring new resources with regard to mining, gas and oil. Also, a lot of social reforms is taking place with the current, which is a very big bill for the government, together coming in the time which we have a very the biggest budget deficit within our recent history. So it's a very difficult period, a lot of challenges, ambitious plan for expanding with limited resources. That's
yeah,
the
exactly.
problem.
You just started actually, like talking about the challenges that we have and the overview of the current situation. Anything to add here, sir?
No, I will take from the last point that Mr. Mohammed mentioned, the resources, scarcity of resources. That's what economics is about, and how to use the resources. But the government is trying to raise capital, whether domestically or abroad, mobilizing savings, whether through the capital markets or through the banking sector. Domestically also, they are seeking funds abroad through issuance of bonds or financial aid from other countries and from other financial institutions and so on. So the government, I think, is trying to find the means of financing these large investment projects that are going or progressing in the country at the moment. And I feel optimistic that at the end of the day, the Egyptian people will make it.
Okay, great. You see, you feel optimistic. I'd say, optimistic people or logical people see what's been done and what's been happening and what is happening right now and plan to happen and say we're going the right track. Other people, I don't know what to call them, or suspicious, is it, maybe pessimistic, maybe very pessimistic and not trying to see anything good. So how do you see, well, you saw the situation out, people who don't see all these, well, things that were achievements, happening, and then we don't hear anything except no sugar, no this, trivial points. And they say, no, well, we don't need all that. We don't need projects. We don't need this. We don't need that. We need oil. We need, we need sugar. And then, they make, you hear just things about that and that are really, really kind of shocking.
Let me tell you, what we are watching now is symptoms of economic reform. Actually, we did not really started the aggressive part of the economic reform. We are waiting until we receive the funds from the IMF and World Bank and other super financial institutions. But at the same time, the government is getting itself prepared for the coming period, because what we are talking about, these issues, is related to the Egyptian currency situation at the moment with regard to scarcity of foreign currency due to what we witnessed throughout the last couple of years with decrease of tourism resources. Also, transfers from Egyptian workers abroad went to lower levels due to miss of confidence and due to the difference in price with regard to the currency against foreign currencies. These issues caused an atmosphere of misconfidence. This kind of misconfidence needs, as Dr. Mohammed Aryan said a couple of days ago, like a confidence shock. We need to explain to people what are we going through.
That's my question, like transparency. Do we need more transparency? Because we have to prepare people
and
for
explaining where are we heading,
yes,
and what is the cost we are going to pay. Also, how are we going to smooth the effect of this reform towards the less income people? I mean, those who will be suffering from this reform. And it is every time there's economic reform, there's some people are paying the bill for that, and mostly the low-income people. So somebody should explain. I mean, either through media, either through the related ministries, they should explain what we are going through. They should explain all these mega projects are which started throughout the last couple of years.
yes,
It will pay back after a while, and we need it. There is no other way for Egypt to be developed unless we renew our infrastructure. We prepare for our infrastructure to receive more investments from local investors and from foreign direct investment as well. I mean, explaining this to the population will help to smooth out, to make everybody ready for this reform. And of course, the efforts start to be done by ministries like Ministry of Supplies and Ministry of Social Funds and Ministry of Solidarity. I mean, these kind of efforts with regard to giving some more pension, some more aids to poor people, started to reform the subsidy system. All these kind of efforts with having a proper database about poverty in Egypt. Mm-hmm. This could help smoothing the effect of economic reform. So, I mean, explaining this to people will make everybody knows what's the reason of spending so much money at the moment for getting Egypt ready for development.
Well, you know, we talked about explaining the situation to people in order to just prepare them. You know, since this is the mild. These are the mild steps. And some people are complaining and just trying to just criticize every minute thing that is happening, pessimistically, of course, bringing it up. And then how do you see, explaining to the people would have, what effect would it have? Of course, I'm talking generally, and the poor income brackets. How is the government going to be helping in that?
Yeah, the media should play a role, of course, in this, and they should have more spotlight on positive developments and for social protection measures and schemes that are being developed in the country. There's good achievements made so far. There are some good achievements made so far to reduce poverty and to protect the less privileged people in society. Mm-hmm. This should absorb the pains of reform for the less privileged people. And the government has nothing more to do in this respect, since they have laid the foundation for social safety networks and started to work out and so on. So they can make it more explicit to the people and to society what has been achieved, and to calm the poorer sectors in the economy, that they are the government is taking care, and there's good social protection schemes. This is one thing. At the same time, the reforms, there will be some, of course, pains in reform and growth and investments and so on, and you are trading there's a trade-off between the current period and the future. Yes. If you are looking for a better future, then you have to invest and sacrifice a little bit of the consumption of today. Mm-hmm. And that's what we are passing through. And it might take some time, because the country is coming from low level of investment after the events that took place in 2011. And the economy is still recovering. It might take some time. Yeah. But the good news is that it's on the right track. Mm-hmm. the investment policy so far has been very reasonable. There are priorities. For example, infrastructure. There was a focus on infrastructure projects. And then the coming stage would be to invite more of the private investors, whether domestic or internationally, especially after drafting the new investment code. That will help with the infrastructure projects.
That was drafted
It's still under discussion, and it has to go through the parliament and get it approved. And it has to be discussed as well in society. After that, you would have the legislations in place. You will have the infrastructure projects almost completed and in the final stages of their completion. What is remaining is the promotion of investment internationally and domestically, and this I see it will be happening more smoothly than before with these efforts that we talked about for getting the economy ready for a leap forward. And the government can do as well more of communication with people, the different departments in the government, more communication, each in its own specialization. What have been the achievements? And they have to repeat this regularly so that the people are aware, because this is the effort of all Egyptians.
Yeah, because with the prices rising, you know, this is creating disgruntlement among some people. Some people were just happy with the situation and everything, and like they started just with the concern. But I'm just talking about legitimate and logical concerns, because as opposed to the voices that come out to say, like, to just, you know, kind of trying to create havoc.
I'm saying there is no reason to just look at the negative side. There will be positive and negative aspects in any development process. But we shouldn't neglect the many positive developments that are taking place. And the government departments should pay more attention to communicating to people all these developments.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And the story of floating the Egyptian pound, some people say this is a very, well, difficult step and not necessary. Some others say it's a necessary one. How do
look, actually,
to look at it?
Actually, there's two different opinions with regard to the monetary and policy regarding the exchange rate of Egyptian pound. I mean, if we have enough resources, the best thing to do is to leave it to market forces. But actually, with the current situation and the reform progress we are passing through, and with the level of poverty and level of income with the Egyptian average income for the Egyptian population, it's I believe my personal opinion is it's not really needed to have a complete free float for the Egyptian pound. It has a lot of risks if we do such policy at the moment, but we have to move the price to a logic price, which find a way of equilibrium, or to get the unification of price between the official announced rate in the banking system and the parallel rate in the market. And most important with this is to do some reforms with regard to the administrative rules imposed by the central bank throughout the last couple of years with regard to depositing, withdrawal, transferring funds. And the most important is to restore confidence with the foreign currency holders. My personal believing is that throughout the economy, but out of the system, we could have like 50 or 60 billion US dollars in the people's hands. Now you find a taxi driver or a tuk-tuk driver having $1,000, $2,000, keeping it at home.
Yes.
Of course, it's a very bad situation with this kind of speculative behavior of normal people, not even traders or industrial people or whatever, because the size of those speculators although it's a small amounts, but the number is very big. I mean, tens of millions keeping foreign currency. This is very, very, very bad sign, and it's very important to restore confidence and to have an aggressive policy with regard to the exchange rate reform in order to get this money into the system again.
How do you just imagine it would be?
I believe it could be a quite good managed float, changing the current exchange rate. At the same time, the central bank should have enough resources and strong muscles to intervene into the market, so the speculators get hurt by this aggressive move. When speculators get hurt, they will start selling immediately. And it is not, we are not inventing the wheel. It happened in Egypt several times before.
Yes, yes.
Very, very soon history, year 2003, 2004, we had the same situation.
But it did not reach the amount that it's reaching right now.
Yeah, it is not, did not reach the level, but the price went from 3.5 up to 7.2. I mean, almost double, more than double price. Yeah. We did not wait, almost what's happening at the moment, disregarding the level of the price, but I mean, the significance is almost 100% difference between the bank rate and the market rate. And when the central bank intervened at that moment, the price went down again from 7.25, I believe, down to almost £5, 5.5. And I believe the same could happen again throughout the coming period. And it should be done only after the central bank has enough resources to do such action.
How much longer would it take, do you think? In order,
I don't know. I'm not the
now.
central bank governor. I don't like to be in his shoes at the moment. But he actually announced that he should be ready at least for 25 to 30 billion reserves,
yes.
Which is not yet ready at the moment. I mean, we reached almost 20 billion US dollars reserve, but I believe he's still waiting until he has enough muscles to intervene in the market and to take the right action and get the speculators hurt, so people start selling. And after that, I believe the people who are doing a lot of speculation will regret this action.
The value added that on the prices, how do you see that? How is going to hurt the consumer?
Value added tax, you mean?
Yes.
The value added tax, it's not going to hurt the consumers across the board. It is just a replacement, a better replacement of the sales tax. Instead of paying at the end of the production process, throughout the production process, there will be payment for the values being added at each stage of getting the product, whether it is a service or a commodity, putting it finally in the market. So there were some calculations made by the Ministry of Finance. They showed that not in all cases there will be a drastic increase, for example, in these taxes. For most commodities, it will remain around what we have been paying as consumers under the sales tax. In some cases, it will increase, true, but it's in the range of, it will be, they said on average, it will be 13 to 14%, the average increase in this tax. And for certain products that are classified as non-essential for the majority of the population. Might be essential for some sectors, and we understand that, but for the majority of the population, they can live without it, or it's not very critical to their well-being. So, but it will help. On the other hand, this will help the cutting the government deficit down, and this will reflect on better control over money supply and getting inflation down. So we have to make this compromise. Looking at the tax, the value-added tax and the cutting of the subsidy program, make it prioritized towards the more needy sectors in the economy, rationalizing the subsidy system and so on. All this will pay at the end better government deficit results and government budget results, and so more control over money creation from the banking system, and this will help putting down inflation. It might take some time, but you are on the right track. You have to do it, and there is no other way to do it at the macro level. At the micro level, we are going with our investment programs and taking care that the small, medium, and large enterprises all are involved in the economic activity. There is not just concentration on large investors. Also, the small and medium are expected to play a good role in enhancing economic performance in the country in the coming period, whether through the industrial zones that they have slots being allocated to this kind of projects. That didn't happen before in the same way. So they are paving the road for more activity, for more employment creation, and so on. I see it. It's happening. It's taking time, yes, because there are many things to do, and they are interrelated. You have to wait to get the whole picture in place. Eventually, as I believe it will happen, and this should be communicated to people. We are missing
that should.
this.
We're missing that part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Largely, yeah. I agree.
Yeah. That would let someone, a rickshaw driver, say something and they take it as a very important talk. But then, how could this be used? Well, the value-added tax, for example, when you go to a restaurant now, very, small example, whatever you order is the price hikes suddenly, what you pay because of they say this the value-added tax. Do they have the right to do that?
Of course, the government as a regulator should make sure that this is not happening.
But this is happening everywhere.
But how they can make sure of this? There are government agencies that deal with consumer protection, with antitrust laws and so on. This like competition and that there is no monopoly acts and so on. Through these agencies, whenever someone receives of them a complaint, and part has to do with the consumers' awareness as well.
Yes.
As users of services and commodities, if we find something that is unreasonable or we have doubts, then we can report this. The people should report this to these agencies. This is their role, to help them. And they should act swiftly. And if they enforce law on the misbehavior of some of the greedy traders or something, I think this will discipline the market in short time.
But we just say, we have laws, but there is a gap between enacting those laws and the laws are there, but then they're not really doing anything with that. For example, when they say, well, this is, madam, this is, the value-added tax. Then you take it for granted, okay, this is the value-added tax, and you just, you keep your mouth shut and accept what they tell you. Now, why aren't we having enough protection of the consumer? Or let's say, we do have the laws, but we don't really have them, enacted properly.
Actually, I cannot blame the traders for everything, actually, because we had, at the same time, we had a currency problem.
Yes.
We had a different price for the foreign currency.
True.
Which causes, and we still an economy which has a trade deficit, and we are importing almost 40% of our food until now, and almost 25% or 30% of our imports are feeding material for industries. The pricing of most of the commodities are affected by this hike in the dollar or the decrease in the Egyptian pound price. At the same time, the government imposed the value-added taxes, and the case you are mentioned is very important because the government also tried to put this tax for all activities,
yes,
especially all trading activities, all service activities. So the consumer, of course, will feel that there is a big hike in prices, and will feel a sort of inflation on prices, yes, due to double effect of
yes, yes,
increase of exchange rate and the imposing of new taxation. Mm-hmm. Of course, the Ministry of Finance has to do such act because the budget deficit is huge, more than 300 billion Egyptian pounds. At the same time, the level of tax resources compared by GDP is still around 10%, which is 50% of the international norms.
Yes.
So I believe the reason is not that we have low tax rates, but the reason is a lot of people are not paying the tax dues. Either they are big businessmen or small shops in the street. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a sort of culture should be changing in the coming period. The tax authority should work on expanding horizontally,
yes,
to expand the taxpayer number, mm-hmm, and not every time focus on only the big business and organized business. If you do this, it seems like we are penalizing the committed people. Mm, we should look.
You'll put them out of business, actually.
Of course, yeah. We should expand the horizon of tax collection from small businesses, from professionals, which, I mean, most of the doctors, lawyers, professional services, they almost paying zero tax. I mean,
where there is this discrepancy, how come the government doesn't know how to adjust, and let like everybody, like the big ones, pay, and smaller ones pay, but then like focusing on a certain category. This is very harmful.
Yes, of course, it's not good for the economy to move forward, and I believe the current structure of the Ministry of Finance, he had a special deputy for taxation, mm-hmm, and another one for another two deputies, yes, for social issues and for budgeting. I mean, the taxation team is now working on reforming the tax system and tax regime, and to start expanding the taxpayers' universe in order to reach a proper level of funding to the deficit through taxation, not from the same people, I mean, mm-hmm, from the people who used not to pay tax.
Yes.
That's a very important issue because especially at this time of difficult economic era, we need everybody to be committed and to pay his dues. We are now witnessing, you can say, poor government and rich population. Mm. A lot of, news on the social media talk about those queues waiting to buy these new funds with tens of thousands of pounds, when a lot of other people are talking about suffering from small daily needs, sugar, rice, whatever. It's a sort of disparity happening within the community, and I believe the government should work on reforming the taxation regime in order to get everybody involved in it.
In this, let's say, like ambiance, you know, with the laws that there, with the value-added tax, with everything that's like what's happening right now, with corruption plaguing our institutions, well. How is the SMEs, you know, doing in this? Can they grow? You know, we need them very much to be there. But then, you know, how can they survive in such a climate?
The main issue for SMEs will be to provide them first with means of finance. They might be deprived of capital, and that might be a serious obstacle to small entrepreneurs in the economy. But if the banking system can provide them with reasonable levels of resources, and that's what the central bank has been doing through several initiatives to help these small and medium enterprises get finance and grow to larger entities. I think this is the only way to remove the financial obstacle facing this type of companies. And of course it has to do with that there is not enough information about their financial health and so on. But banks and other financiers like social funds and the like are more suitable to deal with these issues, that they can collect information and find different schemes of protecting of course, the deposits or the money of the depositors at the bank, and at the same time find good investment outlets for the funds available in the banking system. This is the main thing that would worry SMEs. Of course, the pricing of the final product.
Yes.
As long as there is no monopolistic trends in the market, and they don't have to worry about marketing their products. And since they are small by definition, we don't expect them to set their prices or exaggerating the price of their output. So from the market structure and the pricing system, should be okay. That should help getting down the level of prices in the economy, and should help cutting on inflationary pressures, since these companies have more competition among them. They are larger number, and so there's better competition in the market, and that will help prices not be soaring as in the cases when they're just controlled by few producers of services or certain services or commodities. That's how I see it when it comes to SMEs.
Yeah, the final question here. You said you're optimistic in light of everything that's going on, the efforts that are being done, and of course the problems that we have, discrepancies, and like the laws, and we're trying to just combine things to make them work right. How do you see the situation? I know speculation is difficult, but then how do you see the overall situation?
As I say, overall, I think Egypt is on the right track from an economic and financial point of view. There are pains for growth and development at all times. The people, I think, they already made good effort, the people of Egypt, in passing through difficult periods after the events in 2011. And what remains now is to reap the benefits of their efforts.
Thank you. Well, how do you see the future?
Actually, the future will depend on the efforts to be spent now and the coming period.
Yes.
Actually, as I said at the beginning, we are passing through a difficult period of reform. we should spend a lot of efforts coming from both the government and population in order to reach a better stage for Egypt. There's a very ambitious plan,
Yes.
and but it will need a lot of investments to come in and to be poured in the economy.
Yes.
And the very important challenge is the trust, how to get, how to restore of population first, local investors second,
Yes.
then foreign investors.
Dr. Mohamed Maher, thank you very much for
Thank
being
you.
with us. Dr. Ali Shali, thank you very much for being
Thank
with
you.
us. As for viewers, thank you for being there. We'll see you again next week. I'm Nermin Nazim signing off. Goodbye for now. God bless our Egypt. Goodbye.
The spokesperson of the Egyptian Ministry of Supply and Internal Trading said the Egyptian government has no intention of increasing the allocations of the food subsidy cards. The spokesperson quoted the Supply and Internal Trading Minister Mohammed Ali al-Sheikh saying the card subsidies will be raised. The minister meant that the economic reforms should not have negative effects on the poor nor the rich equally. The expected date to issue 20% of Arabian Rock's plastic industries on the Nile Stock Exchange, NILEX, is within a month. EG Trend has set the fair value of the company's stock at 0.3 Egyptian pounds per share. Arabian Rock's plastic industries aims at increasing its capital in the future to finance its expansion. However, this increase has not been identified due to the constant changes in exchange rates. Investment Minister Daria Khurshid said the Egyptian government will send a new investment law draft to the cabinet next month. The new law casts light on creating various incentives and guarantees for investors. In 2015, the government approved an investment law to regain investor confidence in the Egyptian market, but was later amended in December. The exchange rate of the Egyptian pound against the US dollar remained unchanged, both at the Egyptian banks as well as at the parallel market. Banking sources said the central bank mostly kept the Egyptian pound unchanged against the US dollar at its regular foreign currency auction, where it offered $100 million in sale. Today's Central Bank of Egypt auction cutoff price for the Egyptian pound stood at 8.78 against the US dollar. Prime Minister Sharif Ismail said that his country has secured 60% of the required $6 billion to obtain the loan from the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Earlier, the IMF asked Egypt to secure finances worth $6 billion to get the loan, that was initially approved by the international organization. This means that the Egyptian government has secured around $3.6 billion. GCC stock markets are forecasted to log more losses on Monday after some major companies posted Q3 financial results below all expectations. The Saudi bourse saw yesterday a 1.1% slide after the National Commercial Bank's profits declined to 1.96 billion Saudi riyals against an estimate of 2.3 billion Saudi riyals profit in the third quarter. Further, the Dubai Financial Markets and Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange fell 1% and 0.7% respectively, affected by Drake and Skull International, negative 3.7%, and Etisalat, 0.76%. Price of Kuwait's crude oil leveled down 62 cents to settle at $46.74 per barrel as compared to $47.36 on Friday. Brent crude oil lost 43 cents to reach $51.16, and the U.S. crude oil retreated 41 cents to reach $49.94 a barrel. Meanwhile, oil prices rose after the International Energy Agency forecasted a drop in shale oil production in the U.S. within the coming months, preceded by an oversaturated market for years. Oil markets shrugged off news that Iran, Libya, and Nigeria were trying to increase their production. China's economy grew at an annual rate of 6.7% in the 3 months to September. The figure was the same rate as the previous 2 quarters and was in line with forecasts. China's economic performance has a big knock-on impact around the world. Full-year growth for 2016 is still likely to be weaker than last year's, which was already the slowest in 25 years. Global stock markets were steady after China reported its economy expanded at a firm pace in the July-September quarter, and investors awaited more U.S. corporate earnings reports. Germany's DAX edged down 0.1% to 10,616, and the FTSE 100 in Britain lost 0.2% to 6,989. France's CAC 40 was flat at 4,507. Wall Street also looked set for small gains, with S&P futures unchanged and Dow futures up 0.1%. Belgium's Foreign Minister Didier Renders says EU leaders may agree on a landmark EU-Canada trade deal this week, but only if objections from its country's Wallonia region can be met. EU trade ministers are discussing the CETA deal in Luxembourg, and Wallonia's concerns cannot be ignored. Belgium's national government backs the deal. Renders said the federal government is in favor, but we have to convince particularly Wallonia. Gold prices rose to a two-week high, boosted by a weaker dollar. Gold for December delivery settled up 0.6% at $1,269.9 a troy ounce on the COMEX division of the New York Mercantile Exchange, closing at the highest level since October 3rd. The metal has also gained on subdued U.S. inflation figures for September, which chipped back expectations that the Federal Reserve could raise rates in December. Britain's economy faces a prolonged period of weaker growth as consumer spending slows and business curbs investment. The economy's stability since June's Brexit vote was deceptive. Meanwhile, a senior Bank of England official said that inflation may surpass its 2% target. The bank's deputy governor said that sterling's weakness would fuel inflation, but that controlling prices with tighter monetary policy could hit growth and jobs.